Now are you going to tell us where Jesus is? Yeah, I'll tell you. See, there's this guy Joshua, between Caleb and Joshua. By the way, next week Caleb is coming to our church. Not this Caleb, but there's a baby that was born. We're having a baby boom in our church, by the way. And there's a baby that was born very recently. His name is Caleb, and he's going to be coming to church for the first time next week. Please make him feel very welcome. But in this pair, there's a Caleb and a Joshua. Joshua's name is the Hebrew form of, can you guess? Jesus. If you take Jesus and you say that in Hebrew, like if you say my name is Paul. If you say it in Korean, it's Paul. Okay, it's a dog's name. My goodness, Paul, come here, Paul. Okay, and that's me. All right. I call on the phone. I call this ajumma, which is a Korean lady, and I say, "This is Paul. Paul입니다." She said, "Huh? Paul입니다. Huh? Paul이요, Paul." Ah, Paul. You know, so she understands. She doesn't get Paul, but she understands Paul. All right. Now, so Jesus' name in Greek. You take that Greek name and you put it in Hebrew, and it's Joshua, and it means Jehovah saves. It means Jehovah saves. But not every Joshua is Joshua. Okay. What I mean by that is, for instance, here's an illustration. My name is Paul Kim. You can imagine that there are a lot of Paul Kims in the world today. When I was in seminary in my graduating class, there were 3 Paul Kims. Okay? I was the only Paul K. Kim, so my middle initial saved me. The other two were Paul S. Kim. Right? And so there are a lot of Paul Kim pastors in the world, and some of them are very famous. And once in a while, people will walk up to me, Pastor Paul, I know who you are, and explaining all these things, all the great work I've done. No, that's not me. That's not me. For instance, if your name is Curry, that doesn't mean that you can do the Curry combo. Are you with me? Right? Stephen Curry, you can't play basketball like him unless you are actually him. It doesn't matter if your name is that. I found a lady's name, she at our health food store, and found out her name was Isis. Oh. Boy, you must be having some trouble with that name. And she goes, nah, but I want to keep my name. I like my name. She should. It's actually the name of the Egyptian goddess, Isis, believe it or not. Oh, Isis and Osis. And never mind, going, oh, that's like my opera days. Okay, but Isis or Isis was that name. Anyway, so not every Isis is Isis, not every Curry is Curry, not every Paul Kim is Paul Kim, and not every Joshua is the Joshua. And the Joshua that we have here in this text, original name wasn't even Joshua. It was Hosea. Hosea. Do you remember Antonio Villaraigosa? His name isn't really Antonio Villaraigosa, and they made a big deal out of it. It was a different kind of a name, and it sounded more Mexican, I guess, to make it Antonio Villaraigosa. And so he changed it. Well, Joshua's name was Hosea, and it turns out Moses is the one who changed his name to Joshua. And Joshua means Jehovah saves, which means not Joshua, but Jehovah is the one who is doing the saving. I am just a tool, a broken tool in God's mighty hands. That's the meaning of Joshua's name. But when it comes to Jesus, so in other words, Joshua's name means Jehovah, not Joshua, is the one who saves. When it comes to Jesus, according to Matthew chapter 1, Jehovah, namely Jesus, is the one who saves. He will save his people from their sins. Jesus is the greater Joshua. Jesus is the Joshua that Joshua was meant to be. In every way that Joshua failed, as you would see if you read all of Joshua's accounts, Jesus prevails. Jesus wins. Let me show you a few ways. Jesus is the greater Joshua who has come from the true heavenly promised land. And from experience, he can testify and say that it is a land truly worth waiting for. He is the greater Joshua who prepared the way by paving the road in his blood. He doesn't just lead us into the promised land. He paved the road to it with his blood. Jesus is the greater Joshua who proclaims that he has gone ahead to prepare a place for us. He has gone into the promised land and he is building our eternal homes. And look at this. Jesus is the greater Joshua that not only leads us to the promised land, but he brings it. He brings the promised land to us. Where do you find that, Pastor Paul? The Holy Spirit is the guarantee of the promised land. The Holy Spirit is the one we will enjoy in heaven forever. And by Jesus going into heaven itself, he has sent his Spirit, and in the Holy Spirit, Jesus himself and the Father has come to live inside of our very hearts. He brings the promised land and all the joy and all the hope of it right here. Jesus is truly greater than Joshua. Jesus is all that Joshua was meant to be, in that he is the ultimate proclaimer of the good news that the enemy has been defeated and all his schemes are our bread. All the enemy's schemes are our bread and can only make us stronger and better and make us look more like him. Isn't that good?